This is the Play Your Position podcast, where we huddle up, call the plays, and inspire you to run your ball into the end zone. Are you ready to score more game-winning touchdowns in your life, business, and career? Then listen up, because it's game time, baby. Now, here's your host, Mary Lou Kaiser.
Hey, Team PYP, Mary Lou Kaiser here. Welcome to episode 501 of the Play Your Position podcast. If you are new here, welcome. I've been the host of this show for close to 10 years, and I recently published number 500, which, if you've been listening for a while, you know I am extremely excited about, I'm proud of, and I'm also humbled by, because I'm now looking ahead to the next leg of my podcasting journey, and there are some things I want to try, some few changes I want to make, but I'm going to stick pretty much to what has been working because the feedback is great. I appreciate all of you who tell me how much you enjoyed the show. Shout out to some of my super fans. You know who you are. Sometimes on this show, I share ideas with listeners directly, like I am today. I call these an audible. In reference to my loose theme of American football. And sometimes I have an in-depth conversation with a guest who has answered the call to leadership and chooses to show up each day in the world to bring about positive change in one capacity or another. I work hard to make sure that what I share is relevant, meaningful, useful, and most importantly, applicable to your life. That's very important to me, that you have a takeaway, at least one takeaway, if not more, from every episode that I publish. My goal is to educate and inspire you to take yourself and your personal leadership journey more seriously so that life is more rewarding, enjoyable, and satisfying. As far as, connecting with me, I'm active on both LinkedIn and Instagram. You can follow me on those platforms. You can also check out my website at maryloukaiser.com, where you can contact me if you have a question or want to know more about some of my programs. I've got a couple I'll be launching in the new year, so stay tuned for more information about those. They are going to be epic. Okay, so let's get into the content for today. I want to begin this next chapter of my podcasting journey with a topic I hear and see talked about all the time. I hear it on podcasts. I see it on social media. When I do a Google search, there's just gazillions and gazillions of posts and blogs dedicated to this topic. And the fact that this topic is as popular as it is suggests it's one that many people struggle to nail down. I'm talking about the power of having a clear vision and direction for your life. There's a quote from an author and professor named Jordan Peterson that inspired me to record this episode today, and I want to share that quote with you to set the stage and the context for what I'm going to talk about in more detail. And again, my goal today is for you to be thinking about your own life right now and where you want to go. I'm recording this at the beginning of November, so we got a couple of months left in this year, and the new year will be upon us. The holidays are looming large. This is the time of year when it's so easy to get distracted and be thinking about everybody else except ourselves. And I want to ideally steer you back to treating your vision and direction as number one things in your life, because without them, it's just too easy to fall off the track and then feel like, man, I had momentum and then now I don't. And that yo-yoing of momentum is exhausting. Believe me, I have been there, and it's not a place that I like, and I'm committed to never being there again. All right, so here's the quote from Jordan Peterson. He says, "Don't underestimate the power of vision and direction. These are irresistible forces able to transform what might appear to be unconquerable obstacles into traversable pathways and expanding opportunities. Strengthen the individual. Start with yourself. Take care with yourself. Define who you are. Refine your personality. Choose your destination and articulate your being. And being, this is a side note, with a capital B. As the great 19th century German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche so brilliantly noted, he whose life has a why can bear almost any how. And I would also say, she whose life has a why can bear almost any how. So this gets me thinking, what happens when we underestimate the power of vision and direction in shaping the overall quality of our lives? What happens when we aren't living our lives each day with a clear vision and direction in mind? Well, I can tell you from firsthand experience what happens. You probably can too. You spend way too much time doom scrolling Instagram or going shopping or pretending you didn't just watch 5 hours of YouTube videos or Netflix, or simply stuffing your calendar with activities and events that have everything to do with everyone else in your life but you. So this is where the problem lies when we underestimate the power of vision and direction. All right. I want you to think about some successful individuals that you maybe follow or know about. You might also think about some groundbreaking companies that have achieved incredible success, not just monetarily, but in terms of products that they put out into the world, or what seem to be insurmountable odds against them winning a championship or advancing to the level that they have in, our hierarchical social scene. And there is, becoming a best-selling author, for example, or having a bunch of hit songs, or, it seems like out of left field, suddenly there's a company and we see it everywhere. And the thing is, though, they didn't stumble upon triumph by chance. They worked hard at achieving what they did. They envisioned their goals. They etched them vividly in their minds. They used the power of visualization. And then they set sail toward what they want with a sturdy direction. Vision acts as the engine that powers the train of our actions, propelling us towards our dreams. And have you ever felt like you're in a maze, like your life is a maze and you're searching for that elusive exit and it's just nowhere to be found? I definitely have. Those times in my life when my vision and direction were muddy at best, I got so caught up in that maze, the whirlwind of life. I forgot the power of having a clear vision and direction. And it was like having a treasure map without X marking the spot, running all over the place, spinning my wheels, just trying to do everything for everybody else, and forgetting that if I don't put myself first, if I am not steering my own ship, I'm just getting tossed around in the waves of everybody else's ocean, right? And here's the harsh and compelling truth. Underestimating the influence of a vision can be akin to sailing without a compass. You're wandering aimlessly in that vast ocean of opportunities, and they're not opportunities that you can even see because you're just trying to hang on. You're just trying to right the ship and survive. I recently attended a leadership retreat in the Blue Ridge Mountains, close to where the Appalachian Trail begins. And this was the end of October. The leaves were at their peak of color. The sky was crystal clear and so blue, it hurt my eyes to look at it for too long. I'm not kidding. It was the dazzling display of color in this area of the world literally brought me to my knees for 4 days straight. I immersed myself in this gorgeous natural environment. I focused solely on what I want for my life moving forward. One of the topics we discussed at length was facing the truth of our lives, including whether or not we could clearly describe the direction and vision we have for ourselves. I had a sense of one, but I'll be honest, nothing set in specific stone. Many of you listening know my dad died unexpectedly 2 years ago this month, and that event shook up my world in ways I was not prepared for. But I had to keep going. My mom needed someone to care for her. That decision took me in a completely different direction than I imagined I'd be going at this point in my life. It's true I didn't have something specific and clear before Dad died, but to my credit, I had a general idea of what I wanted to be doing with my time. Moving in with my mom to care for her was not on my radar, not even a blip. Being at the retreat and taking the time to dig through the reasons why I said yes to caring for her and how that decision is influencing the current direction my life is now going and the vision I have for it was so valuable. I left my time there with clarity about myself and my life I haven't had in years, and I'm so grateful that I gave myself the space and time to really hone in on what direction I'm going and how my vision has changed and how it has remained the same. It's just beautiful. And it certainly didn't hurt that I could look out the window at the leaves and that blue sky I talked about and also get out and walk around in it, because nothing like nature, for me anyway, to give me clarity. Experiencing the massive transformation of the consequences of making that decision over the past 2 years, that has shown me why we cannot underestimate the power of vision and direction. For me, there was life before Dad died and then life after Dad died, and those two versions of my life look very different. Everything from where I'm living to who I'm spending my time with to what I'm doing with my time. And I wish I could say that it didn't take losing my dad for me to get serious about having a clear vision and direction, but that's what happened. It took my dad dying to wake me up to how important it is to be very clear about vision and direction in life. And if this episode can help even one person not go through the chaos and upheaval I experienced for the past 2 years, I would be absolutely thrilled. And I would love for you to tell me if this episode does help you. Please reach out to me. Go over to maryloukaiser.com. Contact me there. I would love to know. Or if you follow me on the socials, let me know. And listen, having direction and vision is not just about dreaming big. Dreaming big is awesome, and I encourage everyone to dream as big as you possibly can. It's also about outlining the path to turn those dreams into reality, like a sculptor chiseling a masterpiece. You know, when a sculptor sits down in front of that big block of marble, every stroke is deliberate, guided by a vision of the final form. They begin with the end in mind, as Stephen Covey teaches us in The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. A great book, by the way, if you have not read it. It's an oldie but goodie. It's one that many of my guests over the years have recommended on this show. Beginning with the end in mind, that's how direction transforms dreams into tangible outcomes and prevents you from succumbing to chaos, getting tossed around, having to make decisions on the fly that may or may not ultimately serve you or be aligned with what you really want in your life. Now, I understand at this point, doubts might be creeping in. You might be asking yourself, oh man, what if my vision isn't crystal clear? Or how do I even begin to shape my direction? Think of these questions like the brushstrokes of your masterpiece. Embrace them because they are part of the process. And I want to give you a simple exercise here, something that you can do. And before you hear the exercise, I'm going to say you might want to listen through to the end of the episode and then come back and listen to this part again. You know, just find the place where this begins. And I do that a lot with certain podcasts and books that I listen to. And I'll tell you, whenever I make time to actually do the recommended exercise that either the book or the podcast is giving to listeners, I can't tell you how huge the leaps I can make are because I did the work, right? It's one thing to listen to it and go, all right, yeah, and then be thinking about what else you got to do. It's another thing to say, no, I'm going to commit. I'm going to do what Mary Lou is suggesting. I'm going to go listen to the end, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to take it piece by piece. All right. So as you listen to my directions, you can pause after each one to do the work before moving on to the next stage. All right. But for now, if this is your first time listening through, listen all the way to the end of the episode and then go back, make a note about where this begins, and then go back and focus in on doing the work that the exercise will have you do. And let me tell you, this exercise can really help you. Even if you've done one like this before, it never hurts to do it again. This has helped me tremendously. And I can tell you, I just feel better about my life. I feel stronger. I just feel really good when vision and direction are super clear for me. All right. So here's the exercise. You're going to grab a notebook. You're going to find a quiet spot. You're going to set aside 20 to 30 minutes of uninterrupted time. And that's one sitcom. Okay. You want to put it into perspective. 30 minutes is one sitcom on Comedy Central. Okay. So if you can afford to watch something on either cable or Netflix, or you can take 30 minutes to doom scroll Instagram, you can substitute this for that. And you want to begin by contemplating where you see yourself in the future. Imagine it's 3, 5, or 10 years down the road. Doesn't matter to me. What does your ideal life look like? Consider things like your career, your relationships, your commitment to personal growth, and any other areas of life that are important to you. And the first step is to describe your ideal future. Write a detailed narrative or create a list answering questions like, what are you doing professionally? What work brings you fulfillment and joy? What do your relationships look like? How do those relationships contribute to your happiness and growth? What are your personal accomplishments? What have you learned or achieved? Okay, so that's step one. And if you need to pause, this would be a great place to do it. All right, step 2. Identify your core values. Think about 3 to 5 core values that you deeply cherish. For example, honesty, creativity, kindness, growth, family, exploration, personal time. You can find, if you just Google lists of personal values, you can find them all over the place on the internet with all kinds of words. And so you might do that. But come up with 3 to 5 core values that you deeply cherish and write those down. And then moving on to step 3, you want to break this down into actionable steps. Think about what steps or actions you can take to move towards this envisioned future. Start with broader goals and then break them down into smaller, actionable steps. For instance, if your vision involves a career change, what skills do you need to acquire? How can you start learning or honing those skills? If your future involves personal growth, what habits or routines can you implement to facilitate this growth? What are you not doing now that you could add to your life? You might consider reading one book a month or listening to one book a month. You might consider writing in a journal every day, starting with a gratitude journal. Things like this. They don't have to be elaborate and big. And then the third question in this part, what connections or networks might you need to establish or strengthen? What connections or networks might you need to establish or strengthen? Do you want to spend more time growing your LinkedIn network, for example? Do you want to spend more time actually meeting in person with people in your network than you have? We're out of the pandemic now, so no more excuses about I can't meet up in person. There is power in proximity. And I can tell you that every contract I have signed over the years to do client work has come because I met somebody in person. I don't get cold leads that turn into business. I don't. People learn about me. They might spend time listening to my podcast and then ask for a warm introduction or connect with me. And there's a process. Okay. So don't underestimate the power of your network. If you want to learn about growing your network, go listen to my conversation with Alice Tang. And I'll put a link to that episode in the show notes page, because Alice is a master networker and she just lays it out. All right. So that might be one of the things, an actionable step that you want to consider. All right. Step 4, reflect on potential obstacles. It's really important to think about, there's going to be stuff that comes up that's going to get in my way. It's going to hinder my progress. So write down any fears or doubts or external challenges that could stand in your way. All right. You might have a fear of being visible, for example, or you may doubt that you have what it takes to achieve that future because you've never done something like that before. It's okay to identify these things, because then you can just flick them away. You can say, get out of here. You're just made up, right? But get them down, right? Step 5, envision overcoming those challenges, right? So once you've identified them, reflect on how you might overcome or navigate around them. What support system could you rely on? Maybe you need to be in a mastermind group, or you need to have an accountability partner, or you want to join a coaching program that breaks down some of these steps in a way that really gets you digging in and addressing those limitations. And we all have them. One of the things that I was really faced finally at this leadership retreat was my reluctance to be vulnerable, that how I just get paralyzed when it's time for me to really go deep about myself. I can go deep with everybody else, but when it comes to myself and sharing that, I would rather poke my eyes out with 2 sharp sticks. At least that's how I used to be. And I'm working on it. And this episode is part of that, of me showing up more vulnerably than I have. If you go back and listen to some of my really early episodes, I had some walls up because I was dealing with some of these obstacles that over time I have found great support systems, mastermind groups, and people who have helped me see that vulnerability is like anything else. It just takes practice, and it takes being courageous enough to say, this is my block and it's keeping me from what I really want. So do I want to hold on to the block because it's familiar, even though it sucks? Or am I willing to bust through it to get what I want on the other side, even though I don't know what that is? I can imagine what it is, but it's still unfamiliar. Okay, so that's just kind of getting into my head right there. Finally, step 6, create a personal mantra or affirmation. You want to think about crafting a short, powerful statement that captures the essence of your vision and direction. And this can serve as a daily reminder of your aspirations and the path you wish to follow. And I encourage you, once you have it written down, read it to yourself every day. I do this. And if you want to, you can even record your affirmations. I have several different iterations of affirmations I've made. Obviously, I love sitting down behind the mic. I have the equipment, but you can do this on your phone. If you have a smartphone, and almost everybody does now, you've got a voice memo app. You can record affirmations in there and then just listen to them within the app, or you can send them to yourselves and upload them into Dropbox or some other place where you might keep files like that. So let me review the steps. And then again, I encourage you to take your time. Take 30 minutes to get through this. Step 1 is to describe your ideal future. Step 2 is to identify your core values. Step 3, break it down into actionable steps. Step 4, reflect on potential obstacles. Step 5, envision overcoming those obstacles. And finally, step 6, create a personal mantra or affirmation that you read every day. And remember, the goal of this exercise is to gain more clarity about your vision and the direction you want to take in life. It's a personal exploration, for lack of a better term, to help you define and refine your goals, your values, the steps you need to turn your vision into reality. Feel free to revisit and update this exercise as your vision evolves and becomes clearer over time. I can tell you, I do this. It's amazing to me when I find old journal entries, for example, or even I go back and I listen to old podcasts that I recorded. I'm like, wow, I've really evolved. A lot of my core vision and direction have remained steadfast, but because of circumstances and because of new decisions and new goals, I can see where that evolution has occurred. And it's pretty cool, actually. It really, really is. So Team PYP, don't underestimate the power of having a vision and direction. They are the wind beneath your wings. They will guide you through the vast ocean of opportunities, and opportunities are all around us. And they will lead you to the horizons of success, whatever success looks like for you. And remember, your journey is unique. Your vision is distinct. Don't compare what you're doing to everybody else. Part of having direction and vision is you can stick to it. You can embrace it, nurture it, trust in its transformative power. And I would encourage you to really get ready to set sail. You'll be armed with a powerful vision and a clear direction, and anything's possible. You can conquer the seas of your aspirations. And again, that's pretty cool. I'll leave you with this statement here, as we wrap things up. Remember to stay bold, stay visionary. Your destination awaits, and I can't wait to see where it takes you. This is Mary Lou Kaiser. Thanks so much for listening. I'll catch you next time. And remember, team, it is always a great day to get out there and play your position.
Here at the Play Your Position podcast, we believe that the road to self-mastery and a life well lived starts with answering the call to leadership. That's when the fun really begins. Send this episode to any friends who might need to hear the inspiration and ideas you heard today. And feel free to rate and review us on your favorite podcast platform.